Connecting. Hello, I'm here with Thomas. So maybe you can give a quick intro of some of the things you're working on over the past few years, Thomas. I know you're big in the P2P and commons movements and platform co-ops.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do so. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I've been traveling around the world for a long time and doing different stuffs, more in the way of discovery, discovering territories, so to speak, and other countries, other language communities. And last year, maybe 5 years, I was more discovering a different kind of new frontiers, which was more like topics, different kind of topics. So for example, I came across a book from Rachel Boatsman about collaborative consumption. So that got me think about how there is something behind it. It's going in a certain way. So I got more involved in this, started researching. And then while doing so, I came across a network which is called WeShare. So WeShare is a bunch of people, a network or a movement, and an organization also of people interested in this collaborative consumption first, and then with the time over the years growing bigger and also growing more holistic. It involved like collaborative economy, collaborative society, and all kind of different forms or new forms or renaissance of older forms of doing things differently, basically by people who are whatever dropping out of the corporate world or looking for a change, or so it is also it deals with transformation on different levels, on the societal level, but also on a personal level. So it can also be considered maybe an incubator of people, or it can be like different. It's basically a network. It's a platform of different, more or less, so horizontal, of people. I don't know, exchanging ideas. We're doing a lot of events and all evolving around this, looking at the collaborative economy, at sharing platforms, and then of course over the time, as the sharing economy, collaborative economy changes, which I also like. I'm also working this field as a freelancer for a few years now. And so with the time we are realizing like this, there are different phases of the sharing economy. I talk about, or collaborative economy, I talk about the collaborative economy 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and which means like different phases. Let me just put it very shortly. First one, collaborative economy. It's basically more collaboration than really economy. It's like maybe stuff with like Wikipedia comes up where people just come together and do cool stuff together and create commons or create value for each other or create a community. So all this stuff. And then other people come in because they say, wow, that's a really disruptive model. This is like innovative. This can grow and scale fast. And then it becomes more into this direction of commercializing and monopolizing and becoming the big platforms, maybe like Airbnb and Uber. And of course, we can discuss whether Uber is a sharing collaborative economy at all. But this is then more tearing it or into the realm of the traditional, very neoliberal economy, extractive economy. And now we are discovering like a counter again. So you can imagine as a pendulum going different direction, which I call collaborative economy 3.0, which is, for example, the platform cooperativism is the most aspect at the moment, I would say, so that people say, well, if you do this, have this platform, if you do sharing, just giving each other access to material goods or information also is not enough, because the platform itself can become an intermediary. So it is very important also who owns it and who has a say in it. Also have to share is governance and ownership, and that's what's like on the topic for this platform co-op or other forms. There are other people experimenting with other legal forms or approaches, but of course they include cooperative models. They look at how all stakeholders can become shareholders, how all stakeholders can have a say in it, how everybody gets included or can still participate, and that we are not getting dependent, or that it develops into an unequal society where some people get richer and more powerful and more people like are left behind. So that's the real way I'm working around. Basically last years I'm also very interested, getting very interested, and that's where it crosses the contact with Village 3.0. I'm not so only interested in online platforms. I'm more and more getting interested in all these offline platforms, which could be from like traditional eco villages, also to like event spots for longer time, or like this Village 3.0 idea, where we come together, start self-intended communities, but not only like for coming together for a certain time, having fun or living together, but also getting more and more holistic, creating co-living, co-working, creating livelihoods also, and yeah, creating a different kind of world, even though it's smaller entities, and then working on collaborating on that one. I think I leave it for that. I already talked too much.
Wow, that was a really great summary of wish collaborative economy and everything in such a short time. I'm amazed. You're a great speaker, Thomas.
Okay, well, I think better I'm not prepared.
So yeah, and I really connected with what you said. Certainly, you know, all the things of the collaborative economy, and I think for me also, I mean, I started from similar roots of thinking, and you know, as you start thinking about, you know, collaborative or a new way of working, you realize that a new way of living, a new way of learning are all required and or strongly connected to this new paradigm. So what are the things which led you to, so not less in the abstract, more in the specific, for you personally, which are the strands which make you think and connect with the idea of building a village?
Sorry, can you say that again? There was like connection was broken.
For you personally, which are the strands, the ideas that led you to thinking about a village or about building community?
Yeah, I mean, I very much agree with Charles Eisenstein, who says like what our current times is most suffering from is separation between people and separation between nature. And so like a village, actually a village in the countryside and the rural, where you have close connection or can establish better, closer connection to people around you, because it's not like in the big city. I mean, it's so many people, so many moving around, so it's maybe more difficult. And of course of nature. So I'm particularly interested in rural areas which are nice or even uninhabited or abandoned, or so, because yeah, there you can connect again with nature. And I think that's what we have to do and what we should do, and maybe can yeah, get our joy from. So that's, I think there are these two elements in it. And then of course you have to create an ecosystem, or you have to adjust to the like natural ecosystem, which is there, or social ecosystem. And, yeah, and then you start, or you are in the game, in the sense of, yeah, you take what's there, and then maybe you can contribute some of your own and co-create and collaborate. And you have to see what's there and what you want to do and how you want to get there.
Yes, so connection with nature and connection with other people, community. So I'm interested because you've spent so much time thinking and talking and learning and researching about the collaborative economy movement. What are some of the ideas do you think that we can draw on from there to support building this new kind of village? How do you think this building a new kind of village connects with this we share collaborative economy movement?
Well, first of all, like in collaboration. I mean, everybody now talks, or more and more people, about collaboration, but it's like from the 50s to the 90s, we're all talking about competition and I don't know, fighting over resources and the survival of the fittest and so on. But now we are more and more discovering also in sciences, collaboration beats competition. So if we collaborate and if we just give and do it together in an environment, we can even yeah, generate more. We can generate a better livelihood with using less resources.
Great, yeah. Yeah, and I also think that because a community, a village, if it has a commons, it requires organization. right? And I think this is for sure, for me, this is certainly one of the motivations of wanting to build a village, is to share more things, whether it be workshops, land, and resources. And I think this new next stage organization and sharing has generated a lot of ideas and a lot of experience in how to organize for managing the commons. So I think there's a lot of wisdom which we can connect with there as well.
It needs an organization, or did I get you right there? Like,
yes, so a village has shared resources and it requires organization. And I think it's certainly for me, and I imagine for you, the motivation is not to create a kind of top-down or even a representative democracy kind of management, but to create a more holistic peer-to-peer kind of organization. So I think borrowing ideas or taking ideas from the P2P movement, next stage organization, there's a lot of value there as well.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to say. I wouldn't call it organization, because organization might be that we are thinking in old structures, and there might be some kind of too rigid of it. What we need is a new way of processes and new, like commons need especially commoning. So that's a process. It needs that people come around and agree like on certain rules or on certain practices for a certain place and a certain time, which can change or has to change and will change. So it's always so if you think of organizations, very often we think of, okay, this organization, there are certain structures and that gets like certain rules which are almost unchangeable, or so I don't know, just to yeah, like put a different nuance there.
Very interesting. I didn't know that organization was now also a forbidden word, that it was old school. I thought company was out. I thought organization was still okay.
Well, it's still, you can, of course, it's not out, but yeah, I just wanted to add an aspect to it, because an organization is a noun. And what I want to add into it is a verb, which is like an activity which changes. An organization is a very static word as a noun, and a verb is an activity which changes or which is doing changes. So that's, I don't know. I don't want to get too
I like it. I like the idea. I knew that I would learn some things on this call with you.
You're happy. Always good. Always good to talk.
Cool. So for you personally, you know, what are some of the things that you would really like to see? How do you imagine your life in this new kind of village?
Well, first of all, yeah, difficult. You have to find one. There are certain, first, because you have to actually, in this, what we want to do or might want to do, there is some difficulties, and that's the unity of time and space and people. Because very often these kind of projects, you either have a community and are looking for a place, and then when you have a place, half of the community likes it and the other doesn't. So the community breaks apart, and then people have to start all over again, or partly all over again. Or the other way around, you have a nice place, but very often then you are not having the community, maybe on not yet established, and then very often, because it might be an opportunity on occasion, so you have to act very quickly, and then you think, oh, okay, who wants to join? You and you and you, and then you start on the place, but then you haven't done your community work. So and to put those on the same time might make it difficult. So that's, I guess, why also so many of these intentions, and there are more and more, are also failing. But of course, when you say failing, it's not necessary, because we always learn something from it, and then it becomes the humus for the next one. And like this, we are upgrading along the way, even though while failing, because we are upgrading the humus in it, which is then can be used for the next level. And then but yeah, we still need to pioneer in it. We still need to experiment to find what's the best approach, the right people, and so on, to bring this together. And yeah, because you have to unite somehow space and time and people.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you talk about the learning, and I agree with you that, you know, it's not a failure, but we really do need these learnings to be shared out there. And there is, of course, there are a few books, and it's slowly starting to, a kind of a body of knowledge is starting to build. But I think we need much more of that. And this is my big belief, that we really need to encourage everybody to experiment and share their learnings as they're experimenting. This is kind of the dream for this Village Builders organization that we're trying to build, is to create a place where people can come and bring their learnings and share ideas. And yeah, I mean, you know, I do think that eventually we do need something like, you know, kind of incubators or something like this, which helps people come together, find like-minded people and walk them through the process. Because, you know, if you look at trying to start a traditional kind of company, there's probably tens of thousands of books and hundreds, if not thousands, of courses, accelerators, incubators, and all kinds of programs which will help you walk you through the path. And it's a well-known path because millions of companies have walked it in the past 150 years. But for starting a community, it's a very new thing. And yeah, the support systems aren't there. So I think we need to somehow build out these support systems at the start, even if we just do it at a kind of P2P, you know, mutual support basis of different people starting different communities, helping each other. That would already be something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe let me add. I would say it's also, I mean, of course, books and compilation of knowledge in the sense of cognitive knowledge or so is good and helps. But of course, what we also need is like spaces where you can really experiment and personally feel it, because I think we need to create spaces where you can live it, where you can really experience it, be it only for a time, but in a community, so that like your whole body can feel how it feels different, and that it feels maybe right, or it feels in accord with your inner strength, or with your inner urge or being. I don't know what. I'm just looking for the right word now, but now that it's resonating in you. And this you cannot learn. You cannot. I guess. No, it's all very difficult. Some people can maybe, but other people, I don't know. They have to live it. They have to get a chance to live it for a certain time, and then it seems also much easier to do.
Yeah. This is what I mean. I don't mean necessarily even just learning as in book knowledge, but you know, you can live it. But you can live it in a supportive environment, right? Where a group is going through, and there is people who will let them make enough mistakes that they learn, but not so many mistakes that the whole thing explodes, and you know, people end up hating each other and such, which can easily happen if you have a group that, you know, doesn't do the right group work on or such. So I would love to get, so one idea which I had for doing something like this would be to create a sort of a pop-up village. So get together for a few weeks or a few months, depending on how people can find time, and try and grow community, live community, and also plan a permanent village in parallel. What do you think about this idea?
Yeah, I also thought this idea. So I definitely agree. I think there are different levels of making experience. So that's also what I was thinking about a few years. So there are different formats. Now, for example, stage one format is the classical conference. Now, you go there, listen to something, you are the consumer, it's cognitive knowledge. You maybe download something, you go home, that's it, and then you are back in your daily life, and life is the same. That's very, no? So little bit might change. You have like the attitude, you know what to do, but you can't do it in your everyday life. Or you might even get frustrated. So the second one is a different format, where you go and you have a cognitive approach, but you also have like you're sentimentally attached to others. You experience fun, you singing, you get more involved. For example, like the We Share Fest or something like this. So you come back and you are maybe much more enthusiastic. You made a lot of connections. You had a at least some parts you can contribute something to this. So that's the second, another one maybe, which is, for example, like the POC in WeShare, so that people came together, like 12 different projects, 100 people for 5 weeks in a castle, and then they are starting to not just like a conference or co-working, but they are starting to co-housing and co-living together. They are co-creating. So then it's like this is the next level and the next step, but it's still temporary. Like people go out, everything has been mounted for and has to be dismounted again. So it's also not really sustainable, also ecologically. So it needs another step, which is maybe like the fourth one. Or the fifth one we know already, things like eco-villages, more traditional approach. Sometimes they might be a little bit more seclusive, a little bit more separated, isolated. I think they're also opening up a lot, but that's maybe sometimes very static. But then there might be the fourth one, and I think that's what you and me are thinking about, that you create a kind of a village which is providing the space and the certain infrastructure, which is like kind of permanent, can be like changing or for things. And then there are people coming in for a certain time. It should not be too short, but maybe also long, not too long, so that other people can also come in. And then that they can make these experiences. So infrastructure is given in a way, for example, that as we want to live or have to live in the future, for example, 100% alternative energy, growing your own food, I don't know, all this stuff which would put us on an ecological, self-sustainable foot. It's already provided there, so you don't have to work on all the fronts at the same time. So some stuff is provided, but you can live and experience it, and then you can focus on certain topics. You can focus on community building. You can focus on decision making, on solving crises, on conflicts, on whatever, focusing on doing certain technological innovations or whatever. So you can, whatever group can focus on that. And I think, yeah, that would be like very nice. I even thought making around this space, I don't know, some kind of a whatever lake or so, that you really go over a border, put yourself totally naked, you get to a container, and then you get people, what other people leave there, for example, clothes or other stuff, so that it is really like a little ritual that you are really newborn into this. And then when you leave all your stuff there, and then somebody else, so you bring some stuff, but you don't not allowed to wear your own stuff. You leave it for the next generation to come, and then you take something what the previous generation has left there for you, and you choose it. So you build up a new personality for that time, and then you emerge in it, into this community, into this environment, and then you learn all this stuff, and then you get out and take it out again. And yeah, something like this maybe along the line might be very interesting. And then of course, interesting, cool stuff has to happen during this time in this place and in this space.
Yeah.
So that would be my idea. I don't know. Maybe you want to add something, and we can continue the conversation.
So I think my idea was probably somewhere between, I think, number 3 and number 4 on your scale. One thing that you said near the end that I very much resonate with is ritual. I think this is very important, and my experiences living in different places, living in Japan and looking at different cultures, is incredibly important for bringing a community together at a kind of non-cerebral level. So at a kind of more human, emotional, physical level of these rituals. They're, they might seem just like play to us when we look at it from our cold, hard, rational mind, but it is something that connects us at a very deep level as living beings. So it's very important. Certainly having a, please.
Yeah, just to add in there, because I think like rituals are also getting like more and more interested in that. Just to add on one, I totally agree what you say, that it goes much deeper than our maybe brain or cognitive is allowed. But I think what's also very good of ritual, it marks a beginning and an ending. And that's maybe what we are lacking, especially if we want to build something. Because if you want to build a community, if you want to build a village or something like this, you have the problem of asynchronicity. That's the word, acronicity. Because you have some people who start and then they go ahead and they drag along and then they do a lot of stuff. And then later other people come in and then they start to ask the same questions again. And then the old people are getting tired of it. And then the first one's dropping out. And then the others are getting in later, thinking, well, I don't get the information I need because otherwise getting tired. And so you cannot, I mean, it's very good to start together. It's very good to have certain steps also for saying, not finishing the whole project, but we finish one step and it's steps here. And then if somebody wants to step in or step out, these are the entry and exit points. And not because if it's a linear, then people drop in or drop out along the way and you lose the momentum. But then if you have it more like in a scrub way or something like this, of sprints and which marks an end, beginning and end, I think that's the way to go, along like steps are, and not like flying up a long hill with different people at different times joining and leaving. So that's also thinking about it, how you do this. And rituals are very good for it because they really mark.
For sure. I completely agree. I mean, every culture has had rituals that mark different periods in your life. And there is a good amount of ingrown wisdom in that. You know, having lived in Japan where commerce is gone to like, there's half a day off a year, you know, every day, 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., everything is open. You realize that you just get tired, right? You know, it's just like everybody just take a day off, please, you know. And similarly, you know, for the cycles that mark the year, you know, the passing of the seasons, and also in a community, I think very important, the cycles of people coming into a community. So yeah, I mean, my idea for the pop-up village was, of course, having somewhere thing like you suggest would be ideal, but that's a little bit further ahead. I thought with, you know, just have a bunch of people get together and again, living in an existing area, which could be either a retreat center or a number of houses in a village, and, you know, so cool. Okay.
Yeah. So like creating this and then looking at different ones who are working and not working and why are working and not working, and then exchanging about this and then
yes.
like building up wisdom on that one, how this would look, because it has to be, of course, nowadays different than a traditional rural village, because there, of course, it has its shortfalls. We don't want to go back to something else, or like the cultures which don't fit our culture. Of course, not creating a new culture, but of course you can go and learn and pick what fits and then puzzle it together, whatever the community wants or needs.
Yes. Yes. Cool. Else you wanted to add to our recording? But I think if nothing else, let's maybe we can agree publicly to continue working and talking together about doing a village together sometime. How does that sound?
Sure we will. Okay. Great. Victor or everybody or whoever might watch it. So thanks a lot. Goodbye. And yeah, let's continue connecting along the line.